Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, Abeer's Book Reviews, and today I'll be reviewing this book, The Prince by Niccolo Machiavelli. Here it is right here. As you can see, it is a pretty thin book. It doesn't even touch 200 pages, and that includes the additional introduction added later on. But don't let that fool you, because this book is a very, very powerful book. So if you listen to discussions or podcasts or people talking about psychology or foreign policy or politics, there's this one term that you would have probably heard a lot, which is Machiavellian, and this term is used to reference a set of ideals and principles that were propagated and made famous by Niccolo Machiavelli. And this book includes a lot of those ideals, and it gives examples of how they have played out during Machiavelli's time and why he was such a staunch proponent of such ideas. There's also a trait in psychology called Machiavellian personality, which also is used to reference someone who has a lot of these traits in their personality. But anyways, talking about the book. This book is about statecraft and diplomacy, and it specifically talks about the prince, how the prince of a state ought to be, and how he should function, how he should keep his government, how he should keep his people, how should he conquer states, how should he set up administration in such a way that he retains power and control and that the people like him. It's a lot of heavy content with historical examples such as of the French monarchs, various Italian rulers, the Pope, all throughout Europe. Niccolo Machiavelli gives examples of successful and unsuccessful tactics and administrations, and the perfect path, according to him, for a prince to follow. And it starts by talking about how should a state be acquired, and it's a very nuanced discussion. So is the state acquired by war? If so, is the war very does the war include a lot of bloodshed or not? If it wasn't acquired by war, was it acquired by diplomacy? If so, what type of diplomacy was used? And was it just bought out? You pay for it and now you own the state. And in all the three different scenarios and a bunch of other ones, how should the prince rule according to his method of acquisition? And what was the state of a state like before he acquired it? Was it a democracy? If so, how liberal was the democracy? Was it a monarchy? Was it an aristocracy? And according to those traits, how has the narrative of the people within the state changed? So if it is a liberal democracy, the people are very accustomed to having their voices heard and their leaders represented. Now, if a prince comes along and annexes the state and starts ruling it like a monarchy, there is more probably than not going to be an uprising, and it's not going to be a very successful annexation. And he's not going to be able to hold power and influence over both the people and the people's representatives. So just by this small example, you can see how heavy the content of the book is. And even though it's just shy of 200 pages, it's not going to be a very easy read for everyone. Firstly, because it was written a few centuries ago, so the writing style is definitely different. But just the ideas that are presented in the book, in modern times, you look at them to be very pragmatic and almost cruel, so to speak. One such idea is that when Niccolo Machiavelli talks about annexing a state, and if it's done by warfare or if you have enemies, he says that a person should either be treated with respect or they should be completely destroyed. And that is something which is not a very common sight, because nowadays most of us live in liberal democracies, and there is the concept of justice, and you are served justice according to your crime. But Niccolo Machiavelli advocates against that. He says that you either let them live peacefully, treat them with respect, or you destroy them completely, so that you yourself do not live in the fear of, them seeking out vengeance against you. These types of ideals. Another one is that how a person lives and how a person ought to live are so far different from each other that if you live your life according to how you how you are, then it's going to bring down your demise sooner than your preservation. So again, this is a very pragmatic point of view, that you cannot be an idealist. You cannot expect, especially when you are a statesman or a diplomat or running a country or a nation or an empire or whatever, you cannot be an idealist. You cannot, how things ought to be and how things actually are very separate. And if you align yourself according to what ought to be, it's not going to work out for you, because the powers that be, or the erstwhile powers that be, are not going to allow you to function like an idealist. The people of the state, believe it or not, according to Machiavelli, do not want an idealist. They actually, they'll adhere to your callings better if you stem away from this persona of being an idealist to being a persona of deception. You say one thing, you do another thing, but you deceive the people. You put up this facade of being a people's person, and in case of a democracy. And that is how the people of the state actually want their leader to be. And he gives examples of this, during his time and before that as well, when someone tried to be an idealist in a democracy, how, it quote unquote ought to be, but the people did not like it, and his opponents saw a gap and they filled that gap, and the person was ousted. So these are just a few examples, and you can see how different Niccolo Machiavelli's thinking is from what we think about today. And that is why these ideals and these perspectives are given this special name of Machiavellian. And they're pretty dark, they're pretty cruel, but if you look at it closely and you examine it carefully, it actually does start to make a little bit of sense, at least a few of them. And as I said with Plato's Republic, this book is written at a time which is very different from ours, so obviously you're going to have to take it with a pretty big grain of salt. Some of the ideas, they might have been the best choice for that time, but the times we live in today are extremely different, and you need to take that into consideration while you read this book. Now, this book is not something I would recommend to everyone, because not everyone is going to find benefit from reading how to be a perfect diplomat and statesman. But if you are interested in holding a lot of power and influencing a lot of people, this book will definitely give you a perspective apart from what is traditionally being said. Be a people's person, listen to them, etc., etc. This book gives a totally 180-degree opposite viewpoint to those arguments. So yeah, that's it for the book review. Here it is once again. Again, a very short read, but very impactful, very powerful. If you guys enjoyed the book review, make sure you hit the like button. If you are new and haven't already done so, subscribe to the channel to keep receiving more videos like this one. I have been Abeer Rao, and thanks for watching.